We are obviously very much interested in making sure that the internet is available every day at every single location people want to access it, from whatever device they want to use.
Looks like it's coming from North America, which is reporting 21% over normal.
There are companies you can pay to protect you, but you're unlikely to find out who's behind any single attack by a bot army.
Bot armies are normally global in distribution. Although you'll have concentrations, they're global. And attribution in a lot of cases, especially dealing with large bot armies of hundreds of thousands of zombie machines out there, is difficult.
So here you can see the structure of the network linked of computers. So
Julian Midwinter's company provides software for intelligence agencies and companies to help work out who's behind an attack and where it's being launched from.
The majority of these botnets are there harvesting financial and personal information for use that is then used by those criminal organisations that run those networks for more traditional fraud, accessing your bank account. In a recent example in Canada, there were over 100,000 computers linked across 75 different countries. So the distribution of that attack is no longer just from one country, it is from completely all around the world. Historically, you used to have to be a technical expert. These days, you can effectively, it's almost like go down to the local DIY store and buy a botnet kit that comes sort of ready configured. You just need to install it with some very basic installers and very limited technical capability, set it up, and off it goes.
He told us one group, calling itself the Iranian Cyber Army, was recently found advertising a botnet for hire, one of many, he says, that are available online.
They are in the darker fringes of the internet. Some countries it's easier to get to. Other countries that the access is slightly harder to find. Some of them are very, very affordable. Sort of hundreds of pounds to get involved, and some of them, obviously, depending on what you want to do, could be more expensive.
Hello world, we are anonymous.
A group called Anonymous organised DDoS revenge attacks against the websites of companies such as Visa, MasterCard and PayPal, who withdrew services to WikiLeaks.
The year 2011 will be the year of the cyber war.
Supporters willingly downloaded software similar to that used by organised crime. So could such armchair hacktivists have unwittingly signed up for more?
Who's to know? The inexperienced people that signed up, who's to know that it stopped there? Their machine is still available for use.
One of the most high-profile cyber attacks in the commercial world came earlier this year. It seems organised crime targeted Europe's carbon markets, already the subject of alleged VAT fraud. Under the emissions trading scheme, allowances or carbon credits, which exist only online, are bought and sold in an attempt to cut back on carbon emissions.
It was happening in different countries across Central, Eastern Europe, until it became apparent that the whole system was quite rickety and vulnerable. The system was supposed to look like online banking. I mean, these allowances exist in these accounts online, and you're supposed to log in and be able to transfer from one account to the other.
The problem was that security in some registries appears not to have been anything like good enough. On January the 19th, a broker in Prague reported he'd had carbon credits stolen. The Czech registry shut. That same evening, confidence ebbed and the European Commission closed the entire carbon spot market. It now seems a total of around 3.2 million carbon credits, worth close to 50 million euros, have been reported stolen in the last few months, though details remain murky.
The big question is still whether or not this was a coordinated attack on different registries within the system, which would be quite impressive and suggest quite a high level of organisation of the criminals, or whether word has got around that this is doable and all you need to do is hire a good hacker.
The attacks were a huge shock to the carbon market system, with registries of individual nations only now being deemed sufficiently secure to reopen. Melissa Hathaway was cyber advisor to President Bush and also advised President Obama before stepping down to return to industry. She says it's not only the markets that are under attack.
I think the single biggest threat that's facing all of our countries is the degree of industrial espionage that's being conducted against our businesses. And the illegal copying of the intellectual property, which is at volumes, which is really leaping ahead, or will enable those who are stealing it to leap ahead in the innovation curve.
As world leaders discussed the cyber threat last month, the British Foreign Secretary cited a real example of exactly that kind of attack.
Last year, the national security interests of the UK were targeted in a deliberate attack on our defence industry. A malicious file posing as a report on a nuclear Trident missile was sent to a defence contractor by someone pretending to be an employee of another defence contractor. Good protective security meant that this was blocked, but its purpose was undoubtedly to steal information relating to our most sensitive defence projects.
Extremely good. 5 points on the first one.
Fending off attacks like that takes people with unusual skills. Getting them early is vital. One of the biggest problems in cybersecurity is finding the people best suited to keeping online systems safe. Here at the UK's Cybersecurity Challenge, they're trying to spot individuals that might be trained up to become the next generation of elite cyber professionals.
A few years ago, some research was done about the quality of the cyber threat emanating from China. And the evidence is that about 25,000 people are being added to the Chinese economy every year who are at world-class level in terms of the ability to commit cyber attacks. In the UK, we've probably got about 300 world-class individuals.
We spoke to one of the winning teams.
In the early days, a lot of the early security professionals did come over from the dark side, effectively. They did come from hacking background, and that's why it kind of gets that connotation. But now the training is much more professional.
The bad guys already know the exploits, or they're actively researching. They're highly paid, highly motivated. By rule, it's organised crime.
Cybersecurity is changing, the political world, it's changing world warfare, it's changing even in the consumer world. It affects everybody.
And governments want us all to pay more attention to online security. But that's not just out of concern for our well-being. What's emerging is that each and every one of our own computers, without us even knowing it, could become foot soldiers in a bot army.
Those botnets or affected computers, whether it's in a citizen or a citizen's personal computer or a corporate computer, those computers are being used to launch these distributed denial of service attacks against key industries and or against the government, and so that would affect their ability to deliver essential services.
The more you protect your own assets, the less the risk is that your computer is actually part of a botnet, the smaller the potential of botnets are, and the smaller any of the future attacks would be.
Cyberspace is home to multinational corporations, governments and citizens. This challenges our definitions of sovereignty, jurisdiction and responsibility. Governments want more dialogue about attacks on companies from cyber spies, criminals and terrorists, and implore the rest of us to be security conscious online. But how realistic is that in a world where traditional boundaries and traditional allegiances are increasingly fuzzy?